Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for North Carolina Regional, a virtual experience. This has been a great event so far. Uh, Thank you all to our exhibitors for participating in our trade show, and to all of you for taking time out to be with us today. I know there were some technical difficulties connecting with the exhibitors on the trade show about chatting with them or connecting. I'm so sorry about that. I am Akshat Patel, North Carolina Regional Director, and I'm honored to serve as your Regional Director. It is a privilege to work on your behalf and to be an advocate for initiatives and issues AAHOA is constantly working on. I would like to thank our sponsors, Chase, RLH Corporation, and People's Bank. Their support means so much for our association, and we are grateful for their partnership. Now, a brief message from our sponsors. Thank you, Chase. And RLH
Breaking news now. World Health Organization has just declared coronavirus a pandemic at this point. Okay, thank you, Chase and RLH Corporation and People's Bank. Your involvement is the key to AAHOA's success. Our officers, our board, and our ambassadors are all volunteers. I would like to recognize our North Carolina region ambassadors. They work tirelessly to support AAHOA in our region. And as you can see on the slide, they are Abhijit Shinde, Chintan Patel, Janak Patel, Jignesh Patel, Kevin Patel, Pinkesh Patel, Piyush Bhagat, Prerna Desai, Rakesh Patel, Sandeep Patel, Tejas Bhagat, and Twinkle Patel. I would also like to recognize the North Carolina Region 2019 Premier Ambassador with a tie between Abhijit Shinde and Rakesh Patel. They both went above and beyond in service to AAHOA and our nation's hoteliers, and we are grateful for their service. Thank you to all of our ambassadors and for you to do what you do for our region, for our great region of North Carolina. Now, let us take a moment to review our region's performance. As you can see, North Carolina region has 168 paid members and 493 lifetime members.
I urge you to encourage your networks to join and renew their AAHOA membership. Hoteliers are struggling right now, and we need to rely on each other more than ever before. If you have a friend, a family member who is not yet AAHOA member, help them out. Encourage them to become a member today and ask them to take advantage of all the resources that AAHOA offers. As a reminder, AAHOA membership is free for those of you who own an RLH Corporation Redline or G6 franchise. Also, if you or your fellow hoteliers is a Wyndham franchise who has never been a AAHOA member, you too are also eligible for a free membership. This year, our region has raised $7,493 for AAHOA PAC. If you have not yet donated to our PAC, you can do it right now securely through the AAHOA.com or here during our regional by visiting the information desk. Your support is greatly appreciated. Here are the names of those who have donated to PAC at 365 or higher. And I'm proud to say all of our 12 ambassadors, each and every one of them have donated at least 365 or more. And we are very grateful for your support. AAHOA also supports candidates who support small business and more specifically for our hotel industry and hoteliers. Here are the candidates that AAHOA PAC is supporting in our region. As you can see, all the great candidates, and I'm hoping that all of them will win tomorrow. As you know, tomorrow, November 3rd, is election day. If you have not yet voted, please make a plan to vote tomorrow. As a citizen, this is one of the most important things you can do for our country right now. If you haven't voted, it's not too late. Vote tomorrow. You need to make your voice heard. We were best known to work together. I'm proud of what we have accomplished, especially in the face of this pandemic. I'm grateful for your support and your participation, especially all of you who updated your property information data to myahoa.com. When you update your property information, it helps us help you, such as when you are talking with brands, vendors, or elected officials. It helps us paint a more complete picture of your influence as a job creator and a leader in business in our community. We also need your emails and cell phone numbers, and be sure to opt in to receive the latest news, updates, and special deals. Please take a few minutes to update today your property information through myahoa.com and help us better advocates for you to be the best communication with you, to give you the best communication. We have several important events coming up, including additional regionals, as you can see on the slide. Log into AAHOA.com every day to find out these events, even virtually. We add new ones every single day. In our region, we have North Carolina Charity Golf Tournament coming up. That's on August 7th and 8th of next year, 2021. That's going to be in Concord, North Carolina. I'm looking forward to a great year ahead. Thank you all for coming. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our moderator today as we will jump into a panel discussion. Dr. Cassandra Hill, Executive Director of Choice Hotels Owner Council. She will start the panel discussion. Dr. Cassandra, take it over from here. Thank you all.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to the 2020 State of the Lodging Industry and Top Issues in Your Region panel discussion. My name is Cassandra Hill and I am the Executive Director for Choice Hotels Owners Council and today's moderator. Joining me on this elite panel of industry leaders are Lynn Mingus, the President and CEO of the North Carolina Restaurant and Lodging Association, Twinkle Patel, Chief Development Officer of Milestone Hospitality, Vinay Patel, Principal and Head of External Affairs for Shree Hotels, and Akshat Patel, Principal, Shree Hotels, and North Carolina Regional Director for AAHOA. I will ask each of the participants, beginning with Lynn, to take 1 to 2 minutes to tell you about themselves. Lynn?
Thank you so much, Dr. Hill, and thank you all for spending a little bit of time with us this afternoon. I know how busy you all are, but I've always been impressed with AAHOA and your ability to pull people together to unite, and you are an incredible force. I'm proud to work with you every day. I'm Lynn Minges. As Dr. Hill said, I run the North Carolina Restaurant and Lodging Association. And in that role, we represent about 20,000 businesses across the state, restaurants and hotels. And many of the issues that we deal with are issues that, both restaurants and hotels share. We also are work in partnership at the federal level with AAHOA, obviously a great partner of ours, and with the American Hotel and Lodging Association, and also the National Restaurant and Lodging Association. So together, we have just, a tremendous collaborative effort to represent the hospitality industry in this state. Prior to joining NCRLA 8 years ago, and time flies, but it has been exactly 8 years since I joined the association. Prior to that, I was a deputy secretary in the North Carolina Department of Commerce. In that role, I served 3 governors, 2 of them 2 terms, and 5 cabinet secretaries. And so that background and experience has been helpful to me in my role at NCRLA, because now, we know how to find folks inside of government, and we advocate every day for, restaurants and hotels. So I'm enjoying being on the other side, and just appreciate very much the opportunity to work with you all every day.
Thank you, Lynn. Twinkle?
Good afternoon. My name is Twinkle Patel, and I serve as a North Carolina ambassador. Firstly, I'd like to thank Dr. Hill and Akshat for inviting me on this panel today. For those who that know me, I am a 3rd-generation hotelier, born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. Like many other Indians, I grew up in the hotel industry, from making rooms, folding towels, and then finally moving up to a front desk clerk in high school. This was our livelihood, and everyone pitched in. I currently live in Maggie Valley, North Carolina, with my husband and 2 handsome sons. I have a great interest in local government and policy. I serve on the local Tourism Development Authority Board for the last 3 years, and also on the Town of Maggie Valley Board of Aldermen since January. Living and owning businesses in a small town, it feels only imperative to join local boards in government. Currently, we own and operate 4 hotels in Western North Carolina. We have 2 hotels in the pipeline, and we manage 2 bank-owned hotels in Charleston, West Virginia. Thank you.
Thank you, Twinkle. Vinay?
Good afternoon, Dr. Hill, Akshat. Thank you for having me be part of this. Again, my name is Vinay Patel. I'm a principal at Shree Hotels. We are a hotel development and management company with a current portfolio of 24 hotels in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Ohio. As with Twinkle, I am very, very involved in the political process in our industry, serving on numerous boards. But at the end of the day, with one mission in mind: how can we advance our industry, and how can we protect our industry? And especially in today's environment, both of those things are going to be critical as we move forward.
Thank you, Vinay. And last but never least, Akshat, please tell everyone a little about yourself.
So, hello everyone, this is Akshat Patel. As most of you all know me, and if you don't know me, you should know me. I'm here for our members. I am your North Carolina Regional Director. I have no personal agenda. I'm here to help our members and take care of issues for our member. I own and operate hotels, as well as partner with several hotels. I have my own management company as well, and I've been in business more than 22 plus years. So let's get into the panel discussion without any further time. Cassandra?
Fantastic. As you can see, the information brain trust that has been assembled here possesses the information that you all need and want to hear. Let's kick off the session with Vinay and find out how he views the hospitality industry has changed based on the impacts of COVID-19, and what elements of the hotel experience he thinks can change to the benefit of the owner with little impact to the guest.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. the new word in today's economy is the new normal. What does new normal mean, right? Everybody has different ideas of what new normal means. I remember right at the onset, people would ask me, how are you changing your cleaning procedures? What are you doing? I said, what? We were doing things that were already the right things to do. Our hotel rooms were cleaner than most homes because they were done on a regular basis. What's new was this idea of social distancing. What's new was this idea of more frequent public space cleaning. I think getting our guests to feel or get the perception of clean is something that we will have to thrive for. The other thing that we'll have to do, and I've been talking to the brands about this is our opportunity, like what the airline industry did after 9/11. This is our opportunity to gain control of our industry back. How can we do things? How can we, uh, uh, have some cutting measures? How can we have some additional revenue generating ideas? Today's guest already knows that he or she is not going to get housekeeping, right? That's what's happening. Maybe that is something that will become a future trend. If you want housekeeping, it's a paid option. Now you will get a clean room. Maybe you get a clean in the 5th or the 7th day. If you're staying longer, you get another clean. If you want something in between, it's a paid option. Now, maybe there's a cost of reservations. For airlines, if you're not doing it online, you're paying more. Why don't we have that? The more expensive channels cost more. Consumers know it because they do it with other people. We just have not taken advantage of that situation. And at the end of the day, I think everybody's at fault. We kind of, put it all together. The brands had it, we bought in, and when things are going well, you don't seem to really look at some of the minute details, some of the costs that are out there. So I think that's what we'll have to do as an industry. I know AAHOA is doing it. I know AAHLA is doing it. I know the brands are acutely aware of this as well. How do we gain margin and not hurt the brands? Yes, every brand has to have an identity, but that doesn't mean that identity includes a whole plethora of things that technically they may or may not want. In today's environment, the guests don't want us going into their rooms. What are those opportunities? And I know all the brands are working on it right now. And I think that new normal and hopefully that new margin control is something that we'll be able to attain as we move into 2021.
Vinay, in regards to the margin and us gaining more leverage and control, our industry was riding a 10-year growth that has all of a sudden come to a sudden halt. Mm-hmm. Are you building new properties? Are you looking for distressed acquisitions? Or are you simply focusing on your day-to-day operations in the properties you have right now?
Actually, a combination of all of that, ma'am. We had three projects in development. One was already in construction. So we're moving forward with that. That's happening. It's scheduled to open end of first quarter next year. The other two was a combo deal, which we have the site, we have it designed, we have it permitted, but we're going to hold off to see if pricing does come down. As far as acquisition, I think that time will come. It hasn't come yet, I don't think. Everybody's still sitting on the sidelines. People still have a lifeline out there. But down the road, that potentially will happen. But you're right. The focus has been on our people. The focus has been on our operations. The focus has been on trying to keep as many people employed as we possibly can. We've got 24 hotels. We did not furlough a single managed salaried employee from day one. Our hourly folks took a hit, but our managers and our salaried folks didn't. They're doing a lot of things that they haven't done in a very long time, but it's brought people together. It's brought our teams together as well.
Absolutely. Twinkle, how about your company?
Currently, like I previously stated, my company is building 2 hotels, one to open in April. We are not looking for acquisitions in the next 6 to 9 months, like Vinay said, just because of the uncertainty. It is too early to tell where we go from there, so we are sitting on the sidelines for now. We will see many hotels foreclose. I think I get an email every single day with a new hotel being on the market, but some markets may not be able to recover as soon as we think, and some may be, but we need to stay hopeful and look for different strategies to maintain our current hotels.
Absolutely. Akshat, how about your company?
Yeah, so I echo what Vinay just said. I was thinking about possibly building prior to the COVID. And when COVID started, of course, the whole idea, everything is dropped. Now there is no way any new project can be done unless if there is a funding in place. So, big hoteliers like Vinay and others in our market who are already building hotels, and if they are in the pipeline and if the funding is already there, then of course they're going to finish the project slowly but surely. As Vinay stated, goal is to stay focused with the operations, control the expense, retain the employees, treat them like extended family, and try to survive these days. That's the main thing. After the end of the year, maybe beginning of the year, it's too early to tell that if any deals are out there or not. But if there are any, we may look into acquisitions. But like Vinay stated, I echo that yes, it's too early right now. Maybe beginning of the year. And also, financing has to be available. We don't have deep pocket where we can buy the notes and buy the entire hotel in all cash. That's not going to happen. So it all depends on how things fall apart in first quarters.
Lynn, keeping in mind what the panelists just said, how important are relationships today with the lenders, with employees, with the brands and the lawmakers? And do you feel that any of the existing relationships are helping individuals get the much needed relief they need right now?
Well, without question, having good relationships, having access to decision makers at all levels is vitally important right now. I'm sure the hoteliers on the call today can attest to the importance of having a relationship with your lenders, because nearly everybody's had to have some tough conversations with lenders and landlords. We're currently having conversations with policymakers at all levels of government, and that's vitally important. At the North Carolina Restaurant and Lodging Association, we have those kinds of conversations every day with elected officials and lawmakers and folks within the administration. And we've relied on those very heavily during COVID-19. And I'll give you just a few examples, but we have been in daily conversation with Governor Cooper and his senior leadership team. I mean, daily, and I don't know how many days we're into this now, 34 weeks or something. There has not been, a day that we've not had conversation with his office. Now, that said, we might not like the answers that we get, as Vinay well knows, and we've had lots of conversations. He's been on some of those calls. We might not like the answers that we get, but we're at the table and we have the opportunity to influence them and to have dialogue. And so we will continue to build upon those. We have an election coming up tomorrow. We don't know how that's going to pan out, but the bottom line is we're going to work with whoever's empowered who can help our industry. We have to build those relationships. It's vitally important. We have worked very closely too with our North Carolina Department of Public Health. You all know your local health departments. Well, they come in and inspect and regulate. Well, they inspect your hotels. The regulations actually come from the state health department. And so we work every day with Dr. Cohen and her team, Larry Michael, who oversees restaurant and hotel operations and enforcement. And so we've been in constant dialogue with them around a whole lot of issues. And kind of the way it's worked is that just because we have good access to them, we've been able to advocate on behalf of our members. So when there's a question about whether we can or can't do something, we can often call and get clarity on that. And in some cases, we've been able to advocate on behalf of our hoteliers and restaurateurs and get guidance changed. And so we've been very successful in that regard. We've worked with our ABC Commission on some changes that were needed to allow us to serve alcohol in expanded spaces and things of that nature. I will say too that you all know as well as anybody that your relationships with lawmakers, legislators is vitally important. They have to hear from us. They have to hear about the impact that this is having on our industry. And so your voices are more powerful now than ever before. And, as we were saying, we have an election tomorrow, so we're not sure who we're going to be dealing with in January. But the reality is those policymakers are going to be vitally important as we try to advocate for relief for our industry, much needed relief for our industry. I know AAHOA was instrumental in coordinating a meeting with Attorney General Josh Stein on the eviction order, and Akshat may speak to that a little bit later on in the call. Just really important to keep those relationships in place. But the most important thing, and I think my AAHOA partners, you all are better than anybody I've ever worked with, and I mean that in my 30-year career, and that is that the importance of building those relationships before you need them. And I don't know of an organization, and I mean this, that does it better than AAHOA. You guys, talk with legislators, you meet with them, you have their cell phone numbers, you're not afraid to call and engage, and they know you before you need something from them. And I think that's just more important than ever before. So, we're going to have some work to do after tomorrow, because there will be some new folks who don't know us and don't know our industry and don't know you all. And we're going to have to work hard between now and January to reach out to those new members of Congress, those new senators perhaps, and new legislators in the state house, both the House and Senate. So I look forward to working with you on that. But, relationships are vitally important, particularly right now.
Absolutely. Lynn, one question that is being repeated, and the brands and the owners and everyone's trying to wrap their arms around it, is what hotels can do and cannot do for breakfast standards right now. Do you have any insight on that?
I do have a bit of insight on that. So I know the brands sometimes have stricter standards than we have at the state level. But in North Carolina, we were one of those rare exceptions where buffets are allowed. In fact, I was shocked on May 22nd when the governor allowed restaurant food service operations to reopen. That was included in the guidance that buffets could be allowed. Now, there are some restrictions around that. You're supposed to clean them more frequently and change out the serving utensils, and have some plexiglass to separate, so folks can't breathe on the food and things like that. But they are allowed. A copy of the guidance is on our website. You can go to ncrla.org and read the guidance there. But buffets are allowed in North Carolina. And if you all have particular questions, we're happy to answer those. And if there's something that's not included, again, that's where we've been successful in going back to the Department of Health and Human Services and asking questions. But the reality is they've been pretty liberal with us. We're not seeing a whole lot of enforcement. And I don't mean that to say that we can go crazy, but they don't seem to be nitpicking us like the health department sometimes can do. We're not seeing that kind of, as long as you're doing the things that Vinay talked about earlier, you're cleaning, you're following good protocols, you're changing out your serving utensils, you've got sneeze guards in place and things of that nature. They're pretty much allowing us to operate.
Fantastic. Twinkle, one of the questions right behind the breakfast standards is, how are the occupancies looking for the local area? And what are the demand generators that you're seeing out here now today?
So most of my properties are in the mountains, the Smoky Mountains. So this year we are down about 45% compared to recent years. The booking pace has changed drastically at our hotels. Guests are waiting until the last minute to book their rooms, and the booking window has changed to only even 24 to 48 hours is kind of a stretch sometimes. It is very important to keep an eye on rates every single day throughout the day and change it accordingly, up or down to the demand in your market. We really had to dig deeper into our market segments and drill down onto who's actually staying at our hotels. We looked at the average length of stays and booking windows, and most of our guests were staying or booking through OTAs, OPay grades, and staying only one night and moving on to the next destination. So we removed the deeper discounts for the one-night stays, added more advanced purchase rates, multi-night rate plans to increase the booking window. In our market, we expect next year to have more stability than this year and see some of our historical numbers. Yes, we're going to be a little behind, but right now we're not trying to discount next year. My advice is to place a strategy, look at the STAR reports even more closely, talk to your revenue managers, use all the resources that the franchise can offer, and be patient. This is the time to work hard and stay positive during these trying times.
What is your company doing to reduce expenses?
So right now we have been, even the simple thing of going to Sam's Club to buy certain things, um, really motivating our employees to work different departments to save on hiring additional help. Things like that, just small things have been adding up for us. And luckily we have had long-term employees who've worked with us. Most of them have been working with us for over 5 years. So they really stepped up and pitched in every department that we needed to.
Akshat, I'd like to ask you the same question. What strategies are you implementing now, and how are you preparing for, as some are forecasting an additional downfall in terms of your expenses?
Well, as far as forecasting goes, I don't think in this during this pandemic, during this COVID, we can really forecast anything. It's unpredictable. Vinay knows. Vinay is smiling. For CMBS loan, they ask saying, give us the budget, give us the forecast. I mean, how can we forecast that? We can't just forecast based on the recent numbers or even last year's number, right? That's not going to happen. So it's very unpredictable, and doing everything what we can right now. That's all we can do, right? Main is to control the expense on each and every department. And then cleaning costs, like Vinay mentioned earlier, has gone up. So more of educate the staff, educate the guests, educate them that, hey, no service on the stayover rooms or service as needed or request, and try to control the expenses. That's all pretty much we can do. Twinkle mentioned earlier about talking to your revenue managers if you have one, or your staff if you have salespeople, constantly monitor the rate. But that one thing I do not like, and I like to tell when I say do not like, meaning I like to tell all and ask all our hoteliers in our market especially, is do not get on the rate war. It's a bad idea. That the demand is not there. Dropping your rate is not going to fill up your room. We are not doing anything but fighting against each other. We are brothers and sisters. Yes, we are a competitor. But dropping help in my market the other day, I was seeing, in some of the hotels, even I'm not going to name, but some of the hotels in my market drop, and these are high-end full-service type hotel rates to $49. Now that's not going to help, right? So
Oh.
what I would suggest is, control the expense what you can. The other thing I really hope, and Cassandra, we are working on it. I just really hope that all the brands will eliminate the breakfast, right? As well as the Wi-Fi, that there needs to be a charge like European countries, right? That there's a cost for the breakfast, where guests have an option to either buy a breakfast, have an option to pay for the Wi-Fi. The freebie we need to get away from. And we need to have brand understand that, hey, it costs us a lot of money. Right now we're doing that, to-go bags. People are just filling those up, right? People are just filling up even those bags with free muffins and wrap muffins and wrap pastries and stuff. And it's costing much more, than before even. So we need to work on that with the brands to completely eliminate the breakfast, or, have an option to purchase. Thank you.
Yes, I agree. And yeah, we are working on it very hard. As Akshat just said, though, there are a lot of unknowns. Vinay, starting with you, what is your biggest worry for the remainder of 2020? And can you follow that up with what gives you hope for 2021?
Well, first, the biggest thing is if we see another big spike. If we see, we're starting to see some. You see what's going on in Europe. And I was starting to feel better because, if you look at it, our portfolio, we were off 90% in April. That dropped to about 80 in May, 70 in June. And we've been hovering, right around that 50 to 55%. And that's primarily because of corporate transient. Our corporate transient locations aren't there, but we're starting to see some of that trickle back in. We're in, Zoom is wonderful, but I think somebody said earlier, I am so zoomed out. I don't want to, I'd be happy if I don't see a Zoom, a WebEx, or a Microsoft meetings ever again. At the end of the day, people do business face to face. We need banks to go back. In Charlotte here, Fifth Third Bank announced that they're going back into the office. That's what needs to happen. I think as people feel more and more comfortable, as we get a vaccine, hopefully the federal government will do some liability protection. I think that's probably one of the biggest things that's holding travel back right now is companies do not want to get sued for making people go back to work. When I say optimism, we saw pent-up demand come back. It's a different kind of customer, but it's still a customer that's out there. There was pent-up demand for travel. I mean, I think travel, leisure travel or travel in general is an American birthright. You might not go long distances, you might not go overseas, but destinational assets will continue to do well. We're getting into winter. It was 33 degrees in Charlotte this morning. That's what scares me. People will not go out, will not do some of the things that they were when weather was nice. Staycationing were happening, and hopefully it'll continue. But the fact that we've seen demand start coming back. We saw pent-up demand in the summer and the fall. Gives me hope that at least demand will come back.
Yes.
And then we can work on rate.
Twinkle, what gives you hope for 2021?
Well, with only 2 months left in 2020, we are forecasting to see continued lower occupancy and ADR with a possible second wave. For us, the winter is the slowest time, like most of the travel industry, but we're hopeful that we at least see people traveling on the weekends and during the holiday season. We are hoping for some kind of help from the state and federal governments, just like Vinay had said. Without that, it may be a long, dragged out winter. It just like he had 30 degrees. We've been last 3 weeks, it's been 30 degrees. So we've seen a slow of travelers. Our peak season starts in May, so I'm confident that there will be some type of resolution. So we just have to take it day by day, and we hope to see more people to travel. As long as we see an uptrend, somewhat next year, we won't see those numbers that we have seen the last couple of years, but as long as we're in an uptrend, we're on the right track.
Akshat, how about you?
So, hope is there, and I'll talk about it, but let me also mention, if I may, about the biggest worry. My biggest worry is to survive this pandemic and pass through this turbulence. Past about 7-8 months, we lost even counting when this started, and where we are now, it's already November. We survived, but in my opinion, next few months until at least March or April, it's going to be very, very critical. And how are we going to survive that? That's my biggest worry, right? So how are we going to pay the bill? The property tax is coming due anytime, and then what are we going to do? So that's the biggest worry and the biggest challenge. About the hope, I hope that vaccine will be fine anytime soon, right? That's going to cure a lot of our problems, and then things will move back to normal hopefully soon. I hope that 2021, sometimes probably I would say March, April, after that, business will turn around and things will start back. Like Vinay mentioned, in a lot of metro and big city markets, he has hotels here in close to RTP market. I have a hotel in RTP market. All the offices are closed. When blue collar business is not there, when these offices are closed, my occupancy October is supposed to stay pretty strong. Last year was strong. I just looked at October end numbers. It's 30%. 30% occupancy. We can't even pay the bills. We can't even pay the payroll. And that's pretty bad, right? So I'm hoping that things will turn around. I'm hopeful that things will get back to somewhat normal. Offices will open. Some corporate travel will start, and business will pick up in 2021. There's no way that we're going to make any money. 2021 is not happening. There's no way we're going to have any surplus. There's no way we're going to have any net profit. But even if we survive in 2021, even if we are able to break even, I'm hopeful for that, right? And then this thing is going to take a long, long time
Vinay, correct me if I'm wrong. We are projecting. I'm thinking probably 2023 or later part of 2024.
Yep.
Maybe we'll come back to the numbers of 2018 and 19, but it's going to take a very, very long for this turbulence to go over and for us to get back to normal. So we have to hang tight, tighten up our belt and do everything what we can to survive. And we are hopeful. I'm hopeful that nobody will have to go through a foreclosure. I'm hoping that none of my friends will have to go through that. And that's what I'm hoping for.
Vinay, you mentioned that you were able to maintain a lot of your top talent. That's also been a big question when people call to our office. What is it that you're doing to keep your top talent, and what recommendations do you have for keeping your team members engaged and keeping them hopeful?
Well, first and foremost, we were fortunate, right? From a financial perspective, 2019 was a very good year. So we were in a position from a cash perspective that we didn't have to let go of our salaried folks that have been with us forever. At the end of the day, if you're able to, you should retain as many as you can, because the culture you build, the relationships you've developed over the years, to have to redo, retrain, recreate that environment would cost you more than anything else. I think what that has done for us is, because we showed loyalty to them, that has created an enormous amount of goodwill and loyalty from them back to us.
Absolutely.
And you can't put a price tag on that at the end of the day. So, we'll scratch and claw. Like I said, I think everybody here said it, all our managers were doing things that they didn't think they were going to be doing, but they were glad to be doing it. Just because one, they were still employed, and two, they were feeling like they were giving back to an organization that's been there for them.
I think we have time for one last question, and I'm going to pose that to you, Lynn. At the state and possibly the local levels, what are you seeing as the biggest challenges there on the regulatory side? And what can we do to help the government step up for us?
Well, I think Akshat and Vinay and Twinkle have done a great job of talking about the challenges that we face ahead. And tomorrow's a big day. We have an election coming, so we don't know who we're going to be dealing with or what the climate might look like, the political climate. I think one of the things that we're going to be focused on, no matter what, is many of these guidance documents and things that we've been dealing with could become regulated. So we may be told how to clean the rooms. There may be new inspection departments put in place. And so instead of just the health department coming to check, or the fire marshal, there may be a whole new, COVID inspection, crew coming on board. So that's certainly a concern. Depending on the outcome of the elections, we may be dealing with labor and wage pressures, mandated health care and all these kinds of things that we've seen in other states. We've not had that here in North Carolina. Changes at the federal level or the state level could change that. Another thing I'm watching pretty closely right now is the fact that, North Carolina, we've really just been dealing with the governor and his ordinances, but I heard over the weekend that the city of Asheville, Buncombe County, is potentially looking at putting some occupancy caps back in place. Remember, they had those early on where, right now you'll take everybody who could stay in your hotel, but what if what if they put occupancy caps in place? Might be okay through the winter months, but in spring and summer, they're going to be looking to make up some of the lost ground. We don't need the government telling us, how to do business. So those are some of the big concerns that I'm tracking, and we will be reaching out to try to educate legislators. I feel like often that I'm the grim reaper. I'm the one that tells legislators how bad it is, right? So usually I'm a positive person. I like to see things, the sunshine, and talk about how good things are. But I'm the one that has to really talk about the fact that we've got 130,000 members of our North Carolina hospitality community still on the sideline, people out of work. We talk about, the job loss and the revenue decline. Somebody's got to do that. And I feel like that's a role that we're playing pretty well at the North Carolina Restaurant Lodging Association. I'll also say that I have never done more media interviews than I have done during the pandemic. And we're doing that for a real purpose. And that is that I think the public understands how badly our industry is hurting. And that's an important part of building a coalition of support so that policymakers can be justified in helping our industry. I think Vinay mentioned earlier, and Akshat too, the property tax issue. Obviously they can't forgive property taxes for every business, but perhaps they would look at our industry that's been hurt so very badly and make an exception for businesses like yours that have been hurt. So I will say that we were calculating the other day the amount of media coverage that we've gotten, and we've done over 2 billion media impressions. So you think about it, the whole population of North Carolina is 10 million, 2 billion. So we've been really telling the story about job loss, the impact that our industry is uniquely facing during COVID-19. So it's tough out there.
Vinay, moving from the government to individual banking and financing very quickly, how are the lenders working with you? Has your company restructured your loans? And finally, what would you say are the owner's biggest needs today pertaining to lending?
Well, one, if you had balance sheet lenders, the conventional banks that had relationships with you, they worked with you. They worked with you for the first 90 days, another 90 days, but now you're going into, now they're asking for more. They might be asking for more guarantee. They might ask me for a lot of different things. So that was a good sign. I think Akshat brought it up. CMBS is still a nasty outcome waiting to happen. We've been lobbying the government and AAHOA, AAHOA, everybody. There needs to be something that is being done, that will get done in the next round of PPP that's out there. You had a lot of CMBS debt that was put on in 2010, 2011, 2012. You're going to have 10-year balloons coming up. And those 10-year balloons need to get paid off, and nobody's going to be refinancing that asset for you. I don't think there are a lot of people that are going to, I mean, the bankers, the services don't necessarily want these assets, but there might be an opportunity where they're able to pick it up at 50 or 60 cents on the dollar, and they have the wherewithal to hold on to it. So I know AAHOA has been very, very focused. I know we've been very focused, and anybody that has any connections with the legislator at the federal level, we need to ensure that they're looking at our industry. Over time, hospitality has never asked for a handout. Other industries have asked for a handout from the federal government. We haven't. This is a crisis that is beyond anybody's imagination. And I don't think we're asking for a handout this time. We're asking for an opportunity. We're asking for the federal government to take a look at our industry and say, okay, I've got all this money out there. How do we access it? How do we put these in the hands of the industry? That's probably number 2 or number 3 in terms of being affected by COVID. I mean, I think we're probably right behind live entertainment is where we are. So, like I said, local banks, relationship banks are okay. The CMBS still a work in progress.
One of the things that I am concerned about too is that, we have been counting on government to help us. Haven't gotten a whole lot of government relief. Some, access the PPP program, but, tax revenues are going to be down across the board. And so, we're not going to be getting a lot from the local governments, state government. I mean, the coffers are dry, income's down, revenues down. And the federal government, the trillions of dollars that they've already blown through, and much needed, don't get me wrong, but that's going to be a challenge. So, we can continue to ask for help, but realistically, I don't know how much money they're going to have to invest. So we got to be loud.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Akshat?
Yeah, so let me add on to that, what Vinay said, CMBS out there is a monster. For hoteliers who had SBA loan, they were lucky because SBA automatically announced that 6-month deferment payment, so that helped out them. like when I mentioned, it's very, very important to have a relationship with your local banker. You got to know them, they got to know you. If not, share your data. Your local banker can work with you. Share your star reports, share your hotel statistic. Tell them what you are doing to control the expense. They want to work with you also, right? No bank wants to take over your hotel. But CMBS, that's the biggest issue. When I mentioned that PPP loan, I myself had to go through a trouble, and a lot of our hoteliers who has CMBS loan, they could not automatically just take the PPP loan, right? You have to get their consent in order to get the PPP loan. And to get their consent, it costs you thousands of dollars. It's not even free because they have to get their attorney involved. They have to get their servicer involved, and it costs you money. Like when I mentioned, a lot of these hotels were financed back in 2010, 12, 13, 14, and even recently, right? So there are money buildup which is in your escrow. Yes, they could allow you to use that money, but you can't completely use it. By the end, they want to pay that back and they want to add that back to your escrow. So we got the bigger problem there with the CMBS loan and all that. Maybe, I could be wrong, but maybe we need a bailout for, for a hotel industry. Who knows? Let's see what the new government we get and what we can get from them day after tomorrow. But we all really need to work on this. And take care of the issue for our members and for our industry, right?
I think AAHOA has done a great job of putting it out there, right? Chirag Shah, who's the VP of Governmental Affairs, there's funding still left from the original CARES package that, the Main Street Lending Program that they designed it so that it couldn't be accessed by our industry. Now there's an opportunity to rework it. We've had, the Senate Finance Committee reach out to Chairman Powell and Secretary Mnuchin saying, we got to come up with something. It's just a matter of them doing something where the money's sitting there, it just cannot be accessed out of those funds. So like I said, organizations and associations are going to push it. And hopefully when they go back in after the elections, there'll be some movement. Well, we can only be hopeful. There's a fine line though, right, Lynn? We want government to help, but we don't want them to help so much where it becomes a burden instead of an asset.
Yeah.
Final question for all of you. In 20 words or less, what advice would you give the hoteliers of how to hang on through 2020 and get themselves into 2021? I'll start with you, Lynn. I'm looking at you, so I'll start with you, Lynn.
I don't know. I've been just amazed at the spirit and the positive attitude that you all have demonstrated during COVID-19. I think it's going to take that to get through. We've got to persevere. We got to make it to the other side. And I do think things have to get better. They will get better, but just stay the course, keep the positive attitude and the can-do spirit. Do the kinds of things that you all have talked about, cut cost, save where you can, keep your businesses going because we need you on the other side.
Thank you. Twinkle?
So personally, my advice is, I'm a stay-at-home mom and I can do most of my work from home, but the last couple of years. So now, every day I go to the hotels and pitch in wherever I need to. So some of that is, hope and maybe just to motivate our staff and our long-term employees that, the end of the tunnel will come soon. Cutting costs, wherever we can, Sam's Club, the local stores, wherever we need to just be positive and stay hopeful for the end of this crisis.
Vinay?
I'm a glass half full person. I've always been a glass half full person. And I think everything that everybody said is there. We're a very resilient bunch of people. We've gone through a lot of crisis, nothing of this magnitude, but this too shall pass. Just make sure you stay engaged. Make sure that we don't give up opportunities to protect our margins. We don't give up opportunity. We don't give up this chance that we've been given, as I said, to gain control of our industry back. Because if we do that, when we come out on the other side, we'll come out as a stronger industry, a more profitable industry than we have been in the past.
Absolutely. And Akshat,
Yeah, so most of them, stole the thunder. Yeah,
I'm
stayed.
sorry.
That's okay. So, I let them. Hey, I'm a regional director. Let them speak. That's perfect. Only thing I would like to add, of course, like Vinay mentioned, that stay engaged. And one thing I would like to add, I know he had made comment in one of his statement earlier, is your staff is your assets. Okay. Yes, you have your assets, you have your property, but your staff is the biggest asset. What I would like to, advise and suggest, treat them like your extended family. We all are going through rough and tough time right now. They have family also. Like when I mentioned, managers, they are doing the front desk right now. They are cleaning the rooms. My managers are cleaning the room, doing the front desk. They are thankful that they have a job. Money is not everything, right? Don't fear that somebody else is going to pay them $1 or $2 or $10 more and somebody else will steal your employees. No, that's not going to happen. If you take care of them, if you treat them like your extended family, they are your assets. And when things rebound, they are the one is going to take care of your business. Yes, controlling expense is very important. It's one thing, but at the same time, taking care of your employees is the biggest assets, in my opinion, along besides your real estate assets. So take care of that. Hopefully we all will survive this hurdle and this turbulence, and we all will pass, and things will get better. We are just hopeful, and I'm optimistic that things will be okay. That's all we can do, and stay strong.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, there you have it. Leading answers from some of our leading industry experts. I'd like to thank you, all of the panelists, for your time and the valuable insights that you've shared with us today. And most importantly, I'd like to thank all of you that came into this panel discussion and stayed with us. It's become extremely challenging every day to determine what obstacle to tackle first. Is it your bank? Is it your employees? Is it your family? Or is it yourself? Because everyone and everything is vying for your attention and your time. Although all of these things are very important, during this time of uncertainty, we have to remember that they are really not all equally important. If this pandemic has taught me one important thing, is that I should stop confusing the urgent with the important, and that I need to be mindful of the choices that I make and invest in the outcomes of making them. So thank you for allowing me, Akshat, to be the moderator for this panel, and I will turn it back over to you.
So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Cassandra Hill, for moderating this panel. Thank you, Lynn Menges. Thank you, Vinay Patel, and thank you, Twinkle. All of you have been great. Vinay, Lynn, you are always there. NCRLA, our partnership with AAHOA has always been great. As soon as the election is over, I'm hopeful that we're going to have good officials who can look after us, who can look after our industry and work with us. We have a lot of things to take care, especially two items. One, Vinay mentioned the property tax, and second one is Lynn mentioned about the AG's order, where we need to get the proper law passed, where hotels and motels, we are not apartment complexes. We do not fall under, landlord and tenant law. So we need to get the proper law passed and changed. It's going to take a long time. It's not going to be overnight, and we need to work on it. Anyway, it's 5 o'clock. So thank you all for sharing your valuable perspective on our industry. Now encourage every participant to please head over to the auditorium to hear from our officers. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Let's go to the auditorium.